G4S has provided some rather obscure answers to Parliament on the Thabo Bester escape. An irate MP at the inquiry had them left with more questions than answers. The whole saga has also left government with egg on its face. But it's not the first time wrongdoings at the private prisons have been exposed. Investigative journalist Ruth Hopkins exposed torture and death in her book, The Misery Merchants. Government now says it will let the contract run until it ends in 2026. Let's get her view on the latest developments now. Ruth, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. Quite a lot has happened since we last spoke. Society now has an even greater picture of the extent of the dysfunction at Mangaung. But it must deeply frustrate you because you've been reporting on this and more for years now. Just your views on what we heard.
Well, actually, I'm happy to see that G4S is finally being held accountable in the South African Parliament, and that these issues are finally being put to them and people are demanding an answer. But I did just read that Lamola has stated that he's not going to terminate the contract, and that I find just unbelievable and a bad development, really.
One wonders if perhaps they took legal advice and it might cost them more to actually withdraw from that contract. But still, with everything still in the air right now, because Parliament is yet to formulate a conclusive view on everything that has happened, maybe they could change their minds. But on G4S itself, what did you make of that 22-pager of a report, or as Ms. Glenys Breitenbach called it, just a mere document?
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of how G4S has responded to the allegations I've put to them, and not even allegations, evidence that I put to them of torture, forced injections with antipsychotic drugs, and they just deny, and they claim that they run a state-of-the-art facility, that they treat prisoners as human beings, that Mangaung prison has a really good track record, so they just deny. But what I am seeing now, they deny and try to carry on. And now I do wonder, will they carry on? But again, if the contract's not going to be terminated, then yes, they will carry on.
But one thinks, like I said, that once all of this has been concluded, there could seriously be implications for G4S, and not just with the Mangaung prison, perhaps across their several other business interests. But beyond that, the fact that Mangaung being a high-tech facility did not have smoke detectors, did that not somehow ring an alarm bell for you to say, how could such a state-of-the-art building not have smoke detectors? The best way to detect smoke is through humans.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've never specifically looked into smoke detectors, but what I do, I've been in the prison countless times, and it is a high-tech prison. You know, they have all the modern equipment, and that I found that really surprising. And I also wonder if it's actually true, because I wonder, anything they say, is it actually true? But yeah, that surprised me as well, that they don't have smoke detectors. That seems ridiculous.
Now, Justice Cameron basically confirmed the chaos and humbly apportioned blame to all of them, attributing it to sheer incredulity. He says just the disbelief had them moving at a snail's pace. But should individuals who have been a part of the criminal justice system be that shocked at what criminals can or are capable of doing?
Well, no. I mean, Justice Cameron heads the Judicial Inspectorate of Correctional Services, and they've been aware of what's going on in Mangaung prison for years. I've notified them personally. I've notified Jigs in Bloemfontein. I've shared my evidence with them. They knew, for example, specifically about the forced injections with antipsychotic drugs. And they looked into it and said, oh, we don't have the medical expertise. And apparently a doctor says it's all okay. And then they just let it be. But I think the problem with Jigs is also that it is part of DCS. So basically the prison watchdog is being paid by the prison department. And that is a problem. It's not properly independent, because I do hold Edwin Cameron in high esteem. I think he's a very capable man. But I think he's not being given the tools to actually act and to hold G4S accountable and DCS.
And to his defense, he's been calling for greater power for GICs to at least be able to fulfill their complete mandate, even before this particular incident. So he has been somebody that has been calling for greater independence and power to just fully do the job. But on Ms. Glenys Breitenbach, she seemed to be the star of the show for many. She gave no one a free pass, including the justice, as respected as he is. She still said he could have possibly used his clout to push people to just move a bit faster on this matter. But more so, she was quite hard on the Justice Minister, Minister Lamula, and said that essentially he failed the victims. Where do you stand on that?
Oh, I agree completely. I agree completely. I mean, he heads the Department of Correctional Services, and the Department of Correctional Services for decades has been protecting and colluding with the company, with G4S. They've been aware of, they were aware of the Bester escape in May 2022, days after it happened. They've been aware of everything, of the whole trail of human rights violations and abuse in that prison. And the prison was taken over by DCS 10 years ago in 2013. And DCS was supposed to investigate all of this. And what did they do? The evidence went missing, and they refused to release the reports.
And
so
they handed they handed the prison back to G4S yet again.
Yeah, without an explanation, without holding them accountable. So I think it's really sad that Lamola is now saying we're not going to terminate the contract.
Do you think perhaps it's an opportune time now to even investigate some of your allegations where you actually have presented facts? Because here, they've been really basically seized with a matter of the escape. But the human rights violations where people are being injected, where people are being beaten up, electrocuted, as you've stated, purely because it's said that the officials want the prisoners to fear them. That's beyond a scandal.
I know, and I've said to the Human Rights Commission in South Africa, the Zondo Commission, the BEE Commission, anyone who wants to take a look at my evidence of human rights violations to act on it, they're welcome. But all I've met is indifference and inaction. And yeah, I would hope that this case would be assessed and analysed beyond the Bester escape, that the role this private company is playing in South Africa would be scrutinised and that they would be held accountable. I definitely hope that.
No, at least on our part, we'll continue to shine the spotlight on this particular issue. Ruth, thank you very much for joining us as always. That's investigative journalist Ruth Hopkins.